And I gotta say, I've been super excited to have you on because I know I say that every episode. If people listen, I always say I've been excited. I am an excitable man. So it doesn't take much after being married almost 15 years to get me excited about anything. So I'm super excited about this. You know, my buddy Jacob, I'm gonna say this before I let you say a word. My buddy Jacob, close friend of mine, he's on the network. He introduced me to 60 Days In, I would say a month ago. And my first season was yours.
Yes.
It was the first one. I was like, he's like, I'm watching Utah. Him and his wife Laura, they host a show on the network, TV Torture, and I was like, I'm gonna watch it. And my son and I got invested into the show.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I don't want this whole conversation to be about prison, but thank you, Nina, for coming on. And I'm gonna give you the floor now and let you speak after I spoke now for about a minute without letting you talk.
Hey, I would be a good welcome wagon to 60 Days In.
Yeah, you would.
Love me or hate me. You know, a lot of people were really mad that I was kind of not the typecast. And I thought, how small-minded we are, you know? And a lot of criticism for just being unique or being different or not feeling like I had to have like a hard facade or being multiple things, right? Like you can be goofy and business. You can be, I'm a bit of like a natural comedian. That's always going to be, people are uncomfortable by that. They think that if you can be lighthearted, that you don't know how to take something serious or you don't know how to accomplish or overcome. So, you know what? I love kind of making people question what their feelings are. And isn't that what we should hope in life, that people make us kind of question like what we know to be true?
Yeah, I like that. And I like that you look at it that way. And you're not the conventional 60 Day In type, because we have since watched Fulton County, which makes Utah seem like a resort. I got to be honest. It makes Utah seem like a resort. If you told me I had to go to Fulton County jail,
right,
I don't know what I would do with myself. I would be so sad.
But I think I definitely hit the jackpot of jails. And you know, people will try to like compare to, and I'm like, listen, I'm not mad at what I got. I didn't get to pick it. We didn't even know before we went in. Imagine that. So I'm sitting there. You don't know until they send you plane tickets the night before. So you don't know where you're going. You have no idea. And I'm like, listen, there's a few. I know enough kind of about demographic. There's a few that if it says that on that ticket, I'm going to be a little bit scared. So when it said Utah, I was like, oh, we're fine.
What would have scared you? What city would have scared you?
LA. That would have been.
Oh my gosh, that'd been a nightmare.
One. Yeah, and probably Detroit.
Yeah, New York would scare me too. I wouldn't want to go to Rikers.
That would have been a rough one. Maybe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been. Nina, here's the thing: Fulton County sucks, but Utah sucks too. It's not like we take Utah any lighter, because jail is jail. I don't care any way you look at it. When that door closes, it's jail. I wouldn't want to be in any jail. I wouldn't want to be in any jail. But
no. I don't ever want to go back. I mean, maybe to teach or preach or help. But I will say this: like, no matter what, the ultimate punishment is boredom and sitting alone with yourself and having to have nothing to do but think about all your choices and decisions and thoughts. And that's torture no matter what. The real torture is boredom and not eating. Maybe that. And no sunlight. Okay, fine. No bed. Okay, fine.
So back to that. So have you seen the Pitt County, North Carolina one yet? Have you watched that?
Now I have.
Could you? I don't think I could sit in the quarantine for 5 days. That seemed horrible.
I think that's like the torturous part of it. I think to have to not be able to come out for and some were longer, right? Wasn't it 1 day a week? Or
no, it was 1 hour a day for 5 days.
You're right. You
got
crazy. Like you go cuckoo crazy. You can't even believe some of the thoughts that you'd have in that time. And even like some of the reactions that people had to things, they get kind of critiqued and they'll be like, oh, it was so hard, or you freaked out, or you were, why'd you get so angry? You know what? That's what happens when you're just alone with your thoughts. Like, call us crazy, but y'all would be crazy too. So no, I think about that. If I had gotten a quarantine season And funnily enough, I'll tell you what, I was considered and up to the contract stage for season for the COVID season. So if I'm 9, it would have been season 7.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
so you willingly, because I've talked to a lot of people on reality shows, and you willingly applied for this show, right? Like, did they come after you, or did you go, I think prison is what I want to do with myself for the next 6? My friend Laura, Jacob's wife, calls it jailcation.
Jailcation.
Yeah, you're gonna have a jailcation. Yeah. What?
Jailcation.
You literally applied for this, or A&E? Is it A&E? Did they come after you and be like, we want you in jail?
Yeah. They reached out to me.
Oh my!
They reached out to me. Not that I wouldn't apply for it. I don't know that I would have thought to apply for it. I had actually never seen it before. I definitely knew of it, but I'd never seen it. So they reached out to me and they were like, listen, we're doing this show. What do you think? Now, I will tell you this. I am a natural, like, adventurer. Like, you want to go to the ends of the earth, I'm going to go. You want to go to an all-day tennis tournament, and I've never even heard of it, I'm going to go. You want to go to a third world country on a mission trip, I'm going to go. You invite me to jail, I'm going to go. You want to invite me to a sketchy hole-in-the-wall restaurant on the east side, I'm going to go. So I don't say no to much, and that's actually kind of a title I hold really proudly, is when people say to me, look, if there's one thing I know about you, you're down. And I can hang, like, I know I don't seem like it maybe on the cover, but I can hang. So you tell me where you want to go. I'll probably figure it out.
Okay. So when I first met you on the show, you came in like you own the joint. When you walked in to meet the other inmates, right?
Did I not? No.
Oh yeah.
Did I not own it? Did I not own it?
You're like sitting right across from Fabian, who Fabian's probably, he looks like he's all of maybe 5'4". He looks short to me. I'm short, so I can say that. I'm a short dude. I'm 5'6".
Short kings.
I'm a short,
No hate on short kings. Yeah.
No, I'm not hating. If I was 7 foot saying that, I would sound like a hater. Okay, then you're like, don't mansplain me. You were dropping the mansplain, which I don't think anyone's ever told me that before. So I'm like, my wife has never said, do not mansplain me, Brad.
But are you a mansplainer?
I don't. What is a mansplainer? Explain to me what a mansplainer is, because I'm confused on this.
Okay, well, are you a know-it-all?
No, I don't. I like to learn. I'm a natural learner. You give me advice, I'm going to take it. You say, hey, maybe you do work on. My dad listens to all my podcasts, and he will call in to me. He'll call me, and he'll be like, maybe you should try this. Maybe you should. He's never podcasted in his life. He is a part of Movie Torture, but I listen to him. If Jacob gives me advice, I take it. So yes, I'm not a mansplainer. But was he mansplaining, or was he just giving you some jail tips because he spent time in jail? That's my question.
Well, to answer your question first, so we were filming for a long time in that room. We were in there probably 8 hours. And it's interesting because y'all only see 50 minutes of it, maybe less, 45 minutes. So what they do, and this is the one kind of thing that I learned about reality TV that I wouldn't have actually understood until you see it get pieced together, is while it's all very real, they kind of curate the conversation in the end, right? They kind of like piece together to kind of form this narrative of what they want. So he was really trying to like cook on me for a long time. I mean, they don't show all that. And I'm patient, okay? And I'm patient. I'm waiting. But he kept coming for me. And I try to not lash back, right? Like, I'm a Christian. I try real hard, despite my hillbilly background and my 100% pure German blood. I really fight it every day. And I'm a Christian before I'm redneck and before I'm German, okay? I'm a Christian.
Okay.
And so I fight it, and I'm trying to be nice. I try to not attack people. I will win an argument by just asking you questions. I don't want to attack anybody. So that's why I asked him. They didn't show everything he asked me, but I do think maybe his intention started by, hey, let me just make sure that this girl knows what's ahead. I think he judged me. I know very well what is all involved in jail and prison, but he kind of didn't want to think that I knew. And I do think that in those moments that are kind of stressful, right? We're all approaching this huge project, And we're all meeting these new people and kind of having to have this conversation while being filmed. And you know it's going to be on TV. Everybody was pretty stressed. It was kind of like a tense room. It's like an unnatural meeting. And I think that you see that come out in different ways. So like when I'm a little bit anxious, I tend to get goofier. I think he got mansplaining, and I think he kind of wanted to mansplain me. And if there's one thing I know is, let me tell you what, girls are smart. Okay, girls are smart. And I know I might not look the smartest, but I'm gonna tell you what, I'm a smart girl. So
you came in there dressed to the nines. Like you look like you were going out to Ruth Chris for dinner. and I will be honest, if anything, I'm always honest on here. I looked and I looked at my 12-year-old and I said, she's gonna tap out probably episode 2.
Okay.
And if I came on here and was like, Nina, I thought you'd make it, I would be lying to you, and I'll never lie. And I looked at Fabian and I said, this guy's been to jail. And I've learned this now after watching. The people who have been never make it because they can't go back. It just kills them. And I said, this Fabian guy, he's going to make it. And my son was like, I think he is too, Dad. So I apologize to you, Nina, for judging you and saying she's not going to make it. She's too pretty to make it in jail. And it's a compliment. I'm apologizing to you for that because I did feel that way. And my son and wife were all like, yeah, she's probably not going to make it. So I was excited that you made it.
Yeah.
And he didn't. He tapped out. He didn't make it.
Did he not hand me a storyline on a silver platter or what?
He did.
Like, listen, I got all love for you because you served me that storyline. Appreciate that.
Yeah, he did. So you get there when this is the part about prison I wouldn't like. So I'll never commit a crime. And I don't know if it was your season or another season where someone was like, it might have been Fabian. I don't know. They were like, anyone can end up in prison. And I feel like they can, but I feel like it's harder to end up in prison than it is. It's easier to stay out of prison because I don't commit crimes. I don't have a mind that's constantly thinking about, what can I do to circumvent that or this. I get maybe one night I run over somebody and I'm not paying attention. I end up locked up. There's that. But as far as committing a crime willingly, I don't. It's hard. So the part when I was in the military, the part I remember the most was my first day. They were like, bend over and cough and spread your cheeks.
Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like they do this in prison, right? It's like I don't want to go back there. And then
you don't want to do that again.
No, and you bring this up on the show. I don't think I could take a dump in a room with someone sitting there. I mean, I feel like it would be the most. That's what keeps me from ever committing crimes is knowing that I have to sit on that stainless steel crapper with no lid. Not even a full toilet seat. That's what I'm saying. You don't even have a full toilet seat. No. You got to sit there. Yeah. Is it protocol for your cellie to not watch you, or what if they're just like looking at you? Like I'm just sitting here staring at you right now, like this, Nina. Do you have eye contact? Plenty. I said it at one point. I said I'd love to be able to do it without eye contact. Most people. There's a saying in the bail bond world. Once a client, always a client. So a lot of people, I'm going to say a lot of people who go to jail go back to jail and they get real comfy real quick and they're used to it. While you would think that there would be a little courtesy, okay, you're going to use the bathroom. I'm going to look the other way. We're going to pretend that we have a little shield. Nope. They will make eye contact with you. They will talk to you. One time, me and my cellie, you only have so much space. We had an extra chair in there. You get a chair. And I had the chair kind of in the wall by the toilet. No matter where you're at, you're by the toilet. And I was sitting on the chair and she just runs over and sits on the toilet real fast, out without warning. All she had to say to me was, you mind if I go real quick? No, we don't need that anymore. We're sharing, 5 by 10 space. And our knees were touching and she's going to the bathroom. And we just busted up laughing. And I said to her, Melinda, I said, sis, you could have given me a 2-second heads up. I could have got up. And she goes, at this point, I don't care. I know a lot of people are really private people. If you are kind of bathroom shy or real private, that would be, I would think, one of the hardest parts. I am not. And you want to know what I contribute a lot of that to? So here's the truth. And I thought about this almost daily in there.
from going to summer camp, church camp, my whole life, first
Mhm.
grade through being a counselor in my 20s. That kind of preps you for being a little uncomfortable, and then being on mission trips. I've been on a lot of third world mission trips, and I have went the bathroom in worse places. So all prep me for that. This was actually nothing in light of all that. So awkward, but nothing.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up that. My wife, my beautiful wife, just got back
Yeah.
from Uganda 3 weeks ago. She went over there for
love
10
that.
days. Her second year in a row, she's going on a mission trip to Uganda.
How'd she do?
So
Tough, right?
She loved it. Yeah. And now she's been listening to this book, and I think I'm going to listen to it. It's called Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus. Have you read this book?
Mm-mm.
She can't stop reading it. Like, we get in the car, it's on the radio. Like, it's audible. Yeah. So
I'll read it. That sounds
yeah,
good. I've been to Africa also.
Well, where'd you go? Where'd you go?
Kenya.
Oh, okay. Kenya. That's great. Yeah. Africa's my wife's like, I want you to go to Africa. And I said, I don't really have a passion to go to Africa. I like America. I like the nice comforts of America. If I have to pick a country, I want to be here.
Well, you know what? We got a real big mission field here too. There's
We do.
There's a lot of missions in our country. Tons.
We do. I'm in Minnesota, and Minneapolis has the biggest Somali population outside of Somalia. So,
you know who I think has second is Columbus, Ohio, where I lived for 15 years. I think they're second.
Oh,
interesting, right?
You lived in Columbus. My sister-in-law lives in, and my brother-in-law live in Gahanna.
Oh, in Gahanna.
Gahanna, yes, I say Gahanna. I'm from the South, so I'm going to say Gahanna.
From Gahanna. You made it so fancy. Yeah, I
Gahanna.
was just there 2 weeks ago, and I stayed in Gahanna. How funny is
that is, they have that nice Jenny's at that nice little shopping area there, the Jenny's
ice cream.
Yes, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's Ohio famous, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Jenny's, though, and I'm a lover of ice cream.
Blasphemy.
I like it. I know. Jacob wants to know in the chat.
Yeah.
He wants to know what's with the uniform size being printed very large on the uniform.
Is that not the rudest thing that you can do to women? Or what? I know. When they handed it to us, I was like, dang. They don't, your dignity's already out the door when you go in there. So I guess they decided we might as well just go and broadcast what size you want to. And they run kind of small. So then you're like, okay, well, I'm going to have to wear a size bigger, and then it's going to show it.
Yeah, like, I think I saw a woman with like a 6X in there.
Yes, and really she was not a 6X, but they just run so little. I think they just do everything to make it easier for them. So I think when they're doing laundry, it just makes it like way easier. But I did have one for a while that the print had worn off, and I was like, I held on. I smuggled that uniform in my room longer than I was supposed to have it.
So I feel like your read on people is really good too. And you were, I did not like Luna for a while. And there's a couple points in the show I'm like, man, I wish Nina would just backhand her one time. But you are like me. You give people second chances.
And more.
And more. And you gave her one, and then the Luna storyline kind of disappeared from the show. I think she calmed down some, or at least they didn't show it on air. But what was the other lady that was in the program with you? The tatted up lady. What was her name?
Scarlett.
She was cruel. Like I would not want her on my show because she was very cruel to what's her name? She's like, I'm gonna go back to my nice house. Vicky, who I think Vicky did not do anything wrong in watching it. She just wanted a friend. She was just trying to talk to Scarlett, and Scarlett was continuously a mean girl. And I'm looking for
Vicky.
To her.
Vicky, if you see this, I'm looking for you. I don't know where she's at. I'm on the hunt for her. I'm ready to go up to Utah and Wyoming and start looking for her.
I hope you find her because I liked her on there, and she was cruel to her. And when she said, I'm going to go back to my great life and you're going to be on the streets.
I know.
I was like, I wouldn't say that to my worst enemy.
I know.
But Scarlett doesn't live the way you and I live our lives. And she's in the OnlyFans, which I think is kind of gross myself.
Woo! You just touched on a lot of topics. I could comment on all those. Okay, let me start with this. So first and foremost, again, above anything, I am a follower of Christ. Am I perfect? No. Do I nail it all the time? No. But he is the love of my life, and he is what dictates what I do. Okay. So I got to put everything through that filter. Like, can I pop off? Sure. I could pop off with the best of them and the rest of it and probably win. I could pop off. However, people will say to me, like, you have no filter. And I'm like, oh, no. I definitely have a filter. This is me with a filter. I think very hard before I say anything. I am very filtered. You don't want to see me unfiltered, baby. So, okay, Luna is a hurting person, just like everybody else in there. Scarlett's a hurting person. In fact, Scarlett's one of the most hurting people I've ever met, which kept me from wanting to be mean to her too. I don't get enjoyment necessarily out of hurt people. I don't want to do that. I can win an argument. I know that, and I don't need to have the argument to prove that to myself. But I was just sensing with Luna that there were bigger things going on. I think her charges were different than what she was even telling us. I would see her have conversations and leave them crying. While we all did our own things to cope in there, I think to cope, Scarlett got mean. I think that was a coping mechanism. When you are in high stress survival mode, weird things happen. You are not yourself. I don't want to think that that's the best of her. Matter of fact,
Could be.
When I first met everybody, she was probably my favorite. So I know she has a sweet side to her. I know she has good. I know that was her ugly coming out. And she treated me pretty badly too. I knew that that was her ugly coming out too. I want to give her a pass for that too, but Luna deserves that too. Now, did I agree with every single thing Scarlett said to Luna? Yes, but I do want to clear this up too. The things that Scarlett was coming after, or the things that Scarlett was coming after Luna for, they were factual because we saw it on film, but I didn't see them firsthand. We don't see everything that goes on. And what I won't do is pick up somebody else's grievance without fact. So I wasn't willing to come at Luna that hard when I didn't know for a fact that it happened. I'm also not in the business of ganging up on people. And my dad taught me he was a good man, the closest man to Jesus that I've ever met in my life, the closest thing to Jesus that I've ever crossed paths with. And he would say, since I was little, he imparted into me, he said, let me tell you something. You never gang up on somebody. And if a room of people is coming, if they're coming at someone, even if they're wrong, you find a way to make them feel like you're, at least kind of protecting them or in their corner, or that you value them and that you see them. And I've lived by that my whole life. So Scarlett was saying what needed to be said. I didn't need to reinforce that. And you know what? Luna got it. Now, Luna and I had our own conversations. And in a better, nicer way, I would say to her, I think you're doing this for this reason. I think she received that. And it was interesting. She's messaged me since. And she said she came at me hard. She kind of wasn't nice in the message to begin with. And I said, girl, I'm happy to hear from you. Why are you coming at me like that? And she goes, oh, wait, you are. So I think we expect people to kind of be followers and to take the lead of somebody else. I'm not willing to do that. Are some of her scenes cringe? For sure. Are some of my scenes cringe? Yeah. So I'm not in the business of doing that. I will check somebody really hard, though, when I think they need it. I just didn't ever feel good about it. Plus, I was trying to protect my peace in there, and I can't do that through anger. You know what I'm saying? I can't do that.
I guess the Scarlett thing, for instance, you're going on the show to help. You're going on to help people to find things in the jail. Scarlett wanted to be alone in her cell. Like, what point is she solving here other than just restricting herself to prison? And she's not trying to, like, get in there and find out, like, where the drug... I mean, from watching Utah, I would want to have a job outside. What was that they called that? Where you could stay you work in the greenhouse and all that stuff. I mean, that would...
Oh. Only the men had that, so you could have had that. I know.
That's too much freedom, because that's where all this stuff was happening in my mind. We're watching it, but back to Luna. So she's out, right? She's not in any jail right now.
She's out.
That's good.
I don't know if she's back. I did get a message. Somebody told me she died. I don't know how true that is. I should follow up.
Oh, that can't happen, right?
I don't.
Now we gotta look this up. Now you haven't searched it. You gotta search it.
I will. I should. I get a lot of messages, so I can't act on all of them. But somebody said that, so I hope it's not true. I think that she was in there for some pretty heavy things. It sounds like some character big time character issues. And you know what? I would hope that she had that time to clean it up. What I would have wished for Scarlett when you were talking about being in her room, again, you get in there and you go into such survival mode, especially if you think you're going to stick it out. You do something changes. You are obviously not going to be the same person as you are in your hometown as you are in a third world country. You're not going to be the same person in a professional setting as you are if you're playing football. You're just never the same person in different settings. And jail is so extreme that you aren't going to be your standard self. So I don't know if she was doing that to cope. I don't know if she said to herself, I have to do this in order to stay here. I don't know. Strange things come out. I think that she's a hurt person who's been really hurt by people. And so I think people can feel unsafe for her. I saw how she treated me, and I think she is defensive against people. I am not like that. Like, I love humans. I love connection. I love spending time with people. I love cracking up. So that would have never been an option for me. What I had wished for her, though, is I went to every church service they offered there. I wish they had showed it. If there was one thing I wish they showed, it was that. I went to Christian service. I went to Mormon service. I went to Catholic service. I would have went to anything if they offered it. I went to GED course. I'm college educated. I did it all. I went to 12 steps. I went to NA. I went to AA. I went to counseling, and she went to none of them. So if there's one thing that I could have really, and I even tried to get her to go, they had a transition class that was really cool. I did convince her to go to that. And it was really cool. I mean, it was educational even to me. It was talking about like community resources. And from a humanitarian perspective, it was really incredible to be in that class.
So I wish they had shown, they don't show enough of church on there. They don't show enough of the, and you when we first met you on the show, I did not know you were a Christian. And they had an edit of you, and I'm sure you know this edit, where it was about positions or something, and you're like, which one? What? And you made like a very, it was on there because I was like, oh, but then
about the initial search.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have made a position joke, but
maybe it wasn't. It was something you made to make me think, oh, that's weird, but I didn't know. But then as I got to know you, Jacob and I would be like, I think she's a Christian. We haven't heard her say a swear word or anything like that. So we were like watching how you live. And if people are listening right now, people watch you constantly, no matter who you are. Like, you've always got one person that's observing your life. And you may be the only Jesus Luna ever sees, the only representation of Christ. And I love that you went in there with that mentality of, I may be the only Christ example that these people are ever going to see.
Yeah.
And I want to hold my head high when I leave here, not be embarrassed about some of my actions. And you,
that's right.
Other than maybe tempting the jerky CO, or what do they call him? That guy he was so mean. That guy needs to retire. His life has to be miserable. He probably goes home and he's got to have a miserable life.
But not everything. This is I get why you say that, but I think when a woman is real feminine or whatever you want to say, attractive or whatever, or puts effort in, I think people immediately think all their intentions are sexual, and they weren't. Like, if they're talking.
Oh, I didn't think yours was. I did not think I thought you were just trying to get your way with him, like make him nice, like loosen him up a little bit.
I wanted to make a point with him.
Not one time I think you thought he was hot. I'm going to say that. Not one time.
Oh, the first guy? Listen, those sheriffs are good-looking men, and I will say that on the Bible. I will say it on paper. I got no problem telling anybody that they're good-looking. Those were good-looking men, and I don't care who you are. When men walk in at you with a cowboy hat on and a uniform all together, it's like...
Are you talking about the sheriff? The sheriff of Utah, that guy?
Yes!
The way he looked at you. Hold on. The way he sized you up when you showed up out in the middle of the road there, ready to go check it. He was like, it was so funny to me. I was like, man, she's just bringing it to him.
Even if I go through airport security, I would say 1 out of 10 times, I always say, oh, did I get cavity searched? I mean, look, I just like to be hilarious. Being funny is like always, you're bordering maybe inappropriate. I'm not ever like foul. but if they're sitting there explaining what a cavity search looks like, it's hysterical to ask them, "Can you do mine?" That wasn't necessarily sexual. It was kind of
That was
separately.
it. That
Yeah,
was it. Can you do mine? And I was like,
I mean,
wow,
it's hilarious.
it is
Like
hilarious.
that's a funny thing to say to somebody. Like, could you do mine? I would say that to anybody. Had they been female, whatever, I would say it. I mean, I will say, like, I just love making even if I just make myself laugh, like, I love just saying stuff that's like a little out of pocket. I'm an out of pocket person, okay? If I'll probably offend you at some point. You know, I'm offensive, but it's just all in fun. I have no real intentions. You know, I just love being funny. And then the guy, I can't remember his name all of a sudden, the sheriff that was mean in Smith, Officer Smith, there we go. With him, I know you can't come at him hard. People who are hard don't respond to hard, but what they respond to is tenderness. And so that was me just being sweet. I wasn't really trying to be flirty with him. I was just being sweet and he wants attention. You're right. You said earlier you think I have a good read on people. My read on people, my discernment, if you are close enough to Christ and the Holy Spirit, really the Holy Spirit, discernment is a property of being in communion with God all the time. So I
Yeah,
can
it's a
discern that,
spiritual
you know,
gift.
big time. And so I thought he's coming in so hard, so hot, right? He wants attention. All right, you want a little bit of attention? I'll give it to you, but I'm going to question you in the process too. What was cool about that is I really made him speechless, and he was like, he didn't know how to answer it. And I told him, I said, does your wife know you talk to women like this? I mean, I couldn't, if my husband was talking to women like that, we'd have issues. You know what I'm saying? So I understand, you know, I get accused of that a lot, being flirty and stuff on there. It's all in comedy, you know. Am I a little flirty? Sure, but it's all in fun.
I I I wonder if he's a product of his job, because if I feel like if I was a jail, what do they call him, CO, I forget,
Yeah.
if I had to do that every day,
Oh
5
man.
days a week for 20 years, I feel like I would become very hardened to people, because I've
Sure.
heard every,
Sure.
it's kind of like in ministry. I'm in ministry, and homeless people want stuff all the time, and I feel like I've heard every story, and my initial go-to in my mind is, you're just saying this,
Mhm.
you're not thinking, they think about tomorrow, they don't think about next week or next
Mhm.
month or next year.
Mhm.
And I've even become hardened at times, thinking, like, going, yeah, you're not really going to change. That's not my place to say that. I shouldn't feel that way, right? So maybe he's a product of just being in a system that sucks for a long time.
Well, the one CO said something interesting to us. He said, "I will do more time here than any of y'all will." Now, could you debate that sentence both ways? Sure, uh, but in his defense, spending a lot of time there, it has to take a toll on you. I mean, it has to. Your environment matters. Your job matters. Who you surround yourself with professionally or socially, you know, whatever. It matters. So, do I think it takes a toll on all of them? Sure. And they have to decide how they're going to cope through that job too, just like we all do. So, I do have sympathy and compassion on all of them. But at the end of the day, when you're dealing with humans, if your job is dealing with humans, period, any kind of humans, you have a certain calling and you need to really rise up to that. Now, if you're dealing with a hurting demographic of human, then your calling's even more severe and you cannot afford to get jaded. And that was something I really checked my heart in all of this too is, you know, when I first became a bail bondsman, I used to go to the arraignment courts and I would see everybody lined up and my heart, like I would feel sick because they look like inhumane. It's like I can't even explain it. If you've ever been to arraignment court, like dogs chained up, you know, feels terrible. But then in time, I could have cared less too. That's bad. We can't let our hearts get jaded. We can't get used to what we see. We have to stay alert on what's happening.
You're right. The people you work with shape you.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived in North Carolina for a long time, took a job in Minnesota in July of last year. I love the guys I get to work with, the other pastors. We hang out after work, we fish, we have a great time. But my last job in the ministry was miserable to me. Like the staff was horrible in a lot of ways. There was no community, there was no connection.
Yeah.
So I would dread going into work.
Yeah.
As a pastor, I wasn't the lead pastor, but I would just dread going in. It was hard. Yeah. Now I look forward to that. And look forward to getting up and doing cool things for Christ. So
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from. Like, we can't let that change who we are.
You have to be aware of your surroundings. That's why I really counsel and teach and preach. Be careful who you marry. Be careful. It affects everything. Be careful.
Well, think about someone like Joseph, right, in the Bible. If he had let the system define him,
That's right.
he would have never done and fulfilled the will of God. And we have to constantly think that, right? Like, we can't let our situation define what
Right.
God's, I tell my kid every night when he goes to bed, God's got big plans for you. And you're going to do great things for God. And I constantly want to instill that into my children so they know that God's got big plans for them.
You know what my dad used to say to me when I was little? He
What?
would say, do you know? He was like the love of my life. He would say to me, do you know what all had to happen for there to be you? There was generations on both sides of generations of generations of generations that had to come together at a specific moment. And God coordinated all that so that there could be. Are you taking notes?
No, I'm not. I'm listening.
Awesome.
Jacob was letting me know Luna is not dead.
Okay, good.
He said it's coming up. She is pregnant.
Okay, I can see that. I love when people don't die, so that's good.
Yeah.
But my dad would say generations and generations and generations, God formed so that there could be you. And he'd say, your calling is so important. And there was always supposed to be a you. And exact science happened to create you. Exact favor happened to create you. God's hand had to happen on things for there to be you. And you're really made for right now. And it changed my life. It changed the way I viewed myself, my self-worth, my self-esteem, always high, because I was told that the world formed around history to create me. I come from a family of immigrants, and my dad would say that too. You know how special it is that both sides had to come from other countries, to create you and to kind of install that. So I give a tip of a hat to you for installing that in that kid or your kid, because it changes the way you view yourself when you're told from when you're young that you were supposed to be.
I think I'm going to steal that and use that on my kid tonight. I'm going to. He might be watching now, but you're right. All the things that had to happen.
Yeah.
His mom had to move to Charlotte, then meet me, and do all that stuff. Is your dad? Is he still alive?
No, actually, both of my parents are passed, and it's been the biggest heartbreak of my life. They are truly the most Christ-like people I've to this day ever encountered, and they lived life closest to Jesus that I've ever seen. And when this was going on, I had people who were close to me say, what would your dad think about this? And I'm like, oh, he is who prepared me for this. And my cellmate said something to me that I think about all the time. She said to me, how would your dad do in jail? Which was such an odd, random question. And we had so much fun talking about it. And we were just cracking up. I love Melinda dearly, and they're not, but they were so precious, and boy, oh boy, sweet reunion to come. I wonder if they know I was on the show. I wonder if
my dad is still alive. My mom passed right before I turned 5. She had she had ALS.
Oh,
29 years old.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
But here's the thing, like, for years I would miss her, and I mean I still miss her, trust me. She's been gone now 41 years. But you know what? If someone came to me now and was like, you could have 5 minutes with your mom, I would not take it, because I'm always like, why would I pull her from heaven to come in this miserable place, right? And to spend time with me, like 5 minutes away. I wouldn't even want it. Like, there'll be a day when I'm up there and we can be reunited. But
so true.
But also go back to, her dying paved the way for where I'm at today. Had she lived, maybe different circumstances. I don't meet my wife. We don't have a kid. We don't adopt. We don't do this stuff. So for me, I wouldn't wish her from the arms of Jesus for even 5 minutes to be with me, as much as I would want to. You know, as much as I would love it, you know, but I do
Well,
think about her daily.
that's an interesting leeway kind of into the thought of too is like, I mean, grief is a nightmare. I talked about it a lot on the show, and I think they just did it to get me to cry for scenes so they could use it for promos. Like they'd ask me all these questions about my parents dying because it hasn't been that long, and they died pretty much back to back, and they didn't really talk much about it at all, a little bit, but not much. And I thought, yeah, you know exactly what you were doing. You were getting my soft spot, but you go through some like real stuff like grief, and you really experience life and the reality of stuff, and if you can carry out your faith through the hardest of things like that, the way that you will be able to persevere through anything after that. I mean, I'm gonna tell you what, that didn't kill me. I thought it could have. It didn't kill me, and so you have no idea how strong I am now. You have no idea what I've been through. I've been through betrayal. You know, with death. Death brings weird things out of people. I'm sure you learned that too. I think rarely is there a death that isn't followed by strong reactions out of family members and stuff. I went through years of really yucky betrayal from family through death, all fueled by the enemy. We know that. But you know what it did? It made my heart, and I mean this, it made my heart so content with just Jesus. It made my heart so desperate for scripture and time with God. It was the only way I was going to survive. I mean, and I mean that. When that was all happening, I thought, wow, you know, and I knew that God was like iron sharpening iron, you know. So I've been through it. You want to put me in jail? I'll be all right. You know what I mean? I've been through way worse. My heart is Teflon.
It's funny how death works, because I love my dad, and he's the only, you know, flesh and blood that I have at this point, right? My grandparents are gone, but you know, he was always in an unfair situation, because in my eyes, I never saw my mom like fail. She never lost her temper. She never cheated. She never did anything wrong. And then, not that he's done anything wrong, but when you're judged against that, it's a hard.
Yeah.
As a dad, I can't imagine, like, if my wife was gone. Now my son's 12 now, but if he was 4, like, she would always be perfect in his eyes. She never failed him. She never let him down. So for me, I have one, and then we have another kid who is from Sudan, and he is playing basketball at UNC Wilmington. He's 7 foot tall. He's huge. And yeah, we talk to him all the time. But it's just an unfair situation for my dad. And I feel bad now as an older man thinking about what he had to go through as a dad when he's up against perfection. He saw her not be perfect, but I never saw that. So it's hard when you're up against perfection. It really is.
A pretty good guy.
Yeah, my dad's a great guy. He is great. He's people know him on the network as MTD. We call him Movie Torture Dad, and he's a great dude. He's always around. He was sad when we moved, so because he didn't get to see us. But he's a great guy. But he had a sucky situation to have to deal with, and and I probably held that against him for a long time, deep down. So, and back then therapy was not a thing, which, had I got to get therapy back then, probably I would have been more square, but I didn't, which leads me to this. You have therapy, you do therapy, right? You were talking about that. So I want to segue into your therapy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I have a big pastoral background, years and years of pastoral positions, all kinds, all around the board. Been on worship ministries, youth ministries, young adult ministries, kid ministry. I've been my real heart is pastoral work. That's the truth. And I've learned that counseling pastorally is really one of the biggest things that doesn't just change people, but it shifts their character. And if you have somebody who understands the way the Bible says to disciple people who really believe, I'm talking in genuine discipleship, where you're invested into their lives, you care, you're there through good and bad, you make time for them, you invest into them. Real discipleship leads to a closeness with God that you can't get any other way. And that was my favorite part of pastoring, still is is the one-on-one counseling and discipleship. So I do still offer that.
So Nina, what are your thoughts about this? Because I've talked to people in ministry,
Mhm.
and I feel like discipling is not done as much in the modern church.
Mm-mm.
It is a afterthought. I know right now Jacob's in the chat, Laura's in the chat. Laura said, "Thanks for doing the interview, Nina. Didn't know I could
Hi,
like you more
Laura.
than I already did." Uh,
Love you, Laura.
Jacob and Laura disciple people. I know
Mhm.
for a fact they do.
Now, this is
And
your son and wife, right?
no, Jacob is my friend, and that's his
Oh,
wife.
okay.
This is
I'm
not
sorry.
my wife. No.
Okay.
My wife does have a question about 60 days, but I'm gonna bring it
Yeah.
back. But
Okay.
when I talk to some pastors and I go,
Yeah.
what are you doing for disciple? And they're like, we're not ready for that at our church yet. What do you say to those people? Because I'm like, how are you not ready to disciple? What is going on with the modern church today? It's become a show instead of
Big time.
it's a show. I follow a pastor with props on
Big time.
Instagram. It makes me laugh, but it makes me sad.
Makes me sad too. I'm actually really worried about church health. It's my favorite topic to talk about is church health, period. Over anything, over the show, over anything you want to talk about, chalking it up, whatever. I like to talk about church health. I think it's so crucial and critical. I'm gonna tell you right now, we pick and choose what we want to follow out of the Bible. That's why there's so many denominations, right? Like we all kind of feel comfortable with this and we think this is important. We're gonna lead with this, right? We're gonna do this. At the end of the day, Jesus was with people. And not surfacely, not like, hey, how you doing? Love you, bye. No. He was in their house. He was their friend. He ate with them. He was a part of their lives and he accepted them. And I say this to all the churches. You should have a discipleship course before you have a coffee bar. You should have a discipleship course before you're having family movie night or whatever you're doing. All great and gravy. Love it all. But if you are not ministering to the hurt, the lost, and the broken, and you know what the Bible says? It says that we are to be incarcerated with those who are incarcerated. I want to see prison ministry back in churches again. When I was a kid, everybody had jail ministry, right? I don't see it anymore. I haven't seen it in a church that I have belonged to since my dad's church, since I was a child. And I was a youth pastor some years back, and I'm going to tell you what. I knew we were going to have a rough road because they said to me the first thing they wanted me to focus on was numbers. And I was like, wait a minute, y'all got a broken group of 20 kids right here who are dealing with the strongest of afflictions, identity issues, sexual identity issues, brokenness, like being a teenager, adult. I could go on forever. What we can't do right now is focus on numbers. These kids need discipled. And the way they fought me on that, and they wanted to, paint the youth room before we did that. They wanted to, all these things. Christian, like, how do I say this? No matter what, I would beg somebody to find a church and plug in. Just as you drive a car knowing you can get in an accident, just as you get married knowing you could get a divorce, just as you get a job knowing you could get fired, whatever. I beg you to join a church because it's so healthy and it's scriptural. So there's really no debate, but it's still humans. And as much as I would love to think pastors wouldn't deal with such human issues, they do. And there's pride in churches, right? There's insecurities in churches. There's lack of knowledge in churches. I know that the bride of Christ, the church, is desperate to do things the way that we were instructed to do in the Bible.
The numbers is a big thing that really ticks me off because I have been in worked for a church that was like, well, if only 6 people are doing it, we're not doing it. And I'm like, man, but those 6 people, what are we going to do with those 6 people that are not getting that?
Yeah.
Because to not do something, you got to do something else. And
right. But what's wrong with 6 people?
Yeah, numbers.
If 6 people get fed, that's great. If you ask me,
Well, yeah, but in ministry, it can be a numbers driven. Luckily, the church I'm at now, we see numbers, but numbers is not what drives us. Discipleship is what drives us.
What about
people's life?
What about him going to chase the one sheep, the shepherd that goes after the one sheep?
Yeah.
Like, that matters. One person who feels fed and loved and closer to Christ and finds a way to heal it, fine, great. I just taught a class in South Carolina now it would be a couple years ago, but I told them, I said, hey, my goal is I hope 10 people come. I would love if there was 10 in this group, it would be great. Okay, well, over 100 came, and I don't know, maybe I would have preferred the 10. Then we could have had more one-on-one, So what I offer people is I counsel them through any kind of trauma. It's all Bible based, and I really believe in the spiritual realm. There is a whole topic in the Bible about demonic strong forces and more, right? That's a hard topic for most people. My dad did many things in that area that people are uncomfortable by. It's all Bible. It's all Bible. People get really uncomfortable with the topic of like demons, and even Scarlett tried to come at me. I mean, I was praying against demonic strongholds in that jail. It was everywhere. And she's like, well, I heard you were trying to cast demons out of people. You better believe it. Sure enough was. She thought she had one against me. And I said, I would love if you asked me about that. You might got one yourself there, man. So that's a big topic, right? It makes people uncomfortable. Let's get uncomfortable.
My wife doesn't even like me watching horror movies. I love horror movies, but she's like, I don't want to invite that into our house. She's always, and I'm like, it's a movie, but there are demons. There is the other world that, the devil uses anything, to tempt us and to break us. And we have to constantly be looking for that.
Yeah, I would check your heart. I always tell people, pray about it. Just say, God, is this hurting me? You want me to give it up? I'll give it up. And if you find yourself anxious, if God asks you to give it up, probably means you got to give it up. You know what I mean? I try to check everything. God, how's my shopping? How's my spending? You know what I mean? How's my playlist? Are you okay with this? Always.
Well, yeah, and I've had that thought about like for podcasting, like what am I doing this for? I know I'm doing it. I know God's laid things out for me in a great way. Yeah. And if I lived by the numbers, I'd probably bang my head against the wall a lot. But it's afforded me opportunities to get to have conversations like this, which are amazing. And I love what you do for people and for hurting people and for women in general. I think it's amazing. And I'm just so honored that you're on here today.
Thanks for saying that. That means a lot to me. I mean, there's one thing in this planet that I could advocate for. It's Christians acting like Christians. I say it a lot. I'm looking for a place where Christians act like Christians. I want a world where Christians activate forgiveness like we're instructed. We give such conditional forgiveness. I want the church to really come in alignment. So I appreciate you saying that, because I'm gonna tell you what, evil's gearing up, and so we got to too, right? we gotta get right.
We do, and getting right isn't going to hear a TED talk on a Sunday morning at a really beautiful, hip church with coffee that's amazing, and you leave there feeling empty.
And I love all those things too. Like, I like luxury, right? Like, I get it. I work hard. I'm not against spending money. I don't mind a sprinkle of prosperity gospel, if you want me to be honest. I think all that's great. But at the end of the day, are you willing to go sleep with prisoners for 2 months? Can you do that? At the end of the day, are you willing to take some of the money that you spend on X, Y, and Z and give it, like literally go and give it to the needy? And I feel God checking my heart on that all the time. I felt convicted not all that long ago after doing some talk on mission trips. And I live downtown, and I said to my husband, we live next to people who are so hungry. I've looked out my door before and seen people sleeping on our sidewalks, our side of the street. So him and I have really decided to kind of maybe cool it on overseas stuff or whatever. And once a week, we make a huge meal for all the homeless people in our neighborhood. And that's not to brag. That's nothing. That's easy. You know what I mean? We should be doing more. If we can't love like Jesus loved, if we can't look at everything as an opportunity, we don't need to be in ministry. We don't need to be doing anything but getting right with God, so we can capture his heart. It doesn't matter how much knowledge we know or how good of a worship singer we are, what our position is, or if we're in charge of social media at church. It does not matter. If you do not love people, if you do not love the Lord your God with all your heart, one, and if you do not love people like yourself, two, it's worth nothing. It's worth nothing. And I've had a lot of people say to me, you've been kind of quiet the last couple of months. Yeah, I sure have. You want to know why? Because reality TV was so self-indulgent, and I had to kind of post pictures and talk and be about myself. You know what I'm doing now? I am serving the humans in my community. I am counseling people 5 days a week. I'm trying to chill out a little bit, and get back to what matters. So my head don't get too big. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Y'all can
Well,
only call me cute so many times. It's gonna go to my head.
yeah. Well, I mean, reality TV can do that. Like I said, I've had my fair share on here, and I've had actors and actresses come on, and you can tell. Like, there's moments where I'm like, oh, I really don't want to talk to this person. Like,
Cringe.
they don't have. I have nothing in common with this person.
Mm.
And it's so hard for me to pull it out. But I'm a natural. I'm like you. If someone were to talk about me, I feel like, and Jacob he's in the chat, he can say he knows me personally. Like, I try to be genuine, and I love people. Am I the smartest guy when it comes to biblical stuff? Heck no. But I'm gonna love you like Jesus loves you, and and my wife's even better at that than I am. I take notes from her. She is the gold standard in my life of living like Jesus with others. So,
What's her name?
Kristen.
Kristen. I'm gonna tell you what. It's not easy to be a pastor's wife. Let me tell you what. My
Yes.
mama could have told you. So shout out to Kristen. Shout out to the pastor's wife. I love a pastor's wife. And you know what? Shout out to your kid or kids. Being a PK is not easy. And I always say this, and you'll hear me say this 1,000 times. I always say, hey, you want to know the real testimony is that I don't have some huge background of drugs or whatever. People, and praise the Lord, people will get up quick and give a testimony on overcoming all those things. But you know what? I overcame something, and I'm going to call it even bigger. I was a pastor's kid my entire life, and I never, ever, ever walked away from the Lord. Now that is a testimony.
And it is. I've seen a lot do it. And there's times where it's like my kid, Max, I'm like, you're going to go do that. We had this talk last week or 2 weeks ago. He had a soccer game on Wednesday night. And I said, you're not going to that soccer game. You're going to church. And he was mad at me. And I said, in this house, we're always going to put church and God above soccer. Will I let you slide every now and then? Yes, possibly. Sure. But it's not going to be a habit where we're never churching on Wednesdays. And you're not going to youth group. You're going to be in youth group. And that's the rule. And he accepts it. It's tough for him because a lot of times he has to do things other kids don't have to do. Because I forced him into it. But I don't. Here's the dilemma, Nina. Here's the dilemma. Because I've seen pastors go, I'm going to let my kid decide. And I've seen a pastor's kid at 16 or 15 not ever come to church. They stay home. And the pastor's like, I'm not going to force him to be here because then but if you don't make your kid go to church and create habits of knowing Jesus, how are they going to find Jesus at 21 when they're in a frat house, chugging a keg, and they got blonde shorties making moves on them?
I love this topic.
What are they going to do?
And then right up my alley. Yeah, I love this topic.
Because I'm going to be like, well, you know what? That's my fault because I didn't make my kid go to church. I'm going to make Max go to church till he's 18. When he moves out, he can do what he wants to do. And I'm going to pray he chooses to go to church. Right. I didn't do that. I moved out. I went in the military. I quit going to church for a while. And I share this in to men all the time. I'm like, I was in the Navy and I would take men to church on Sunday mornings. And I would think, man, I'm doing great, Nina. I'm doing it. But then on Saturday night, I would take those same men to the strip club and we would watch women strip and we would enjoy it. So what kind of example was I setting? I don't want my son to be like that. So I'm going to force him to go to church. I would take my chances on forcing my kid than letting my kid say, nah, bro, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to err on that side.
Yeah, this is a fine line, right? Like balance, because the kids who have had it forced upon them aren't going to respond real well, right?
No.
I also don't believe in negligent parenting. If someone's under your roof, and I don't care how old they are, and I've said this in people that I counsel, even they got 20-something-year-olds living with them or whoever, friends even. Look, in this house, you want to live here, you got to go to church. Now, I think you should do everything you can do to support an organic relationship with Jesus. Yes. That's what saved me. And my parents were good examples. It wasn't about the pomp and circumstance for them. It wasn't about looking good on Sunday. They let me wear a few things on Sundays I probably shouldn't have been wearing. They let me do a few things that I know embarrassed them. But you know what they always made sure we did is we had real moments of real discipleship with humans to where we were feeding people who were genuinely poor. My dad would take in people, I'm not kidding you, off the street. I could give you all their names now, and teach them how to grocery shop and job interview, and he would budget their money for them. When you see, we as humans, we are drawn to sincerity and things that are real. When you have had an example of parents who have loved like Christ, and you see and you've felt the benefits of that, you don't got to force your kid to go on Sunday mornings.
Boom.
They will know the works of Jesus. So do you need to go to church on Sunday? Yeah, you sure do. But more than anything, I think the example of Christ is what leaves us so satisfied. And you can't find that satisfaction anywhere else, you know?
I love how you put that. And have you read Francis Chan's Crazy Love?
I don't think I've read a lot of books. I don't think so.
You should read that book. It's right up your alley on the way it changed my life. It changed my life when I read it. It made me go from being a selfish dude to not being as selfish. My wife inherited a selfish man. I like my perks. I like my comfort. But I've learned from her.
Let me ask you this. I want to say this first. I think my phone's going to die. My phone's always off the hook. Can you edit this? Can I just put a power source behind it and we can keep going?
Yeah.
Okay, give me 2 seconds. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I just didn't want it to die on us. We're vibing. You know, we're kind of flowing.
We are.
I don't want to lose it. I just don't want this to die either. So give me just.
I'll edit this out, or I'll leave it in so they know we're real.
No, edit. I love.
I'm kidding.
I'll
edit it
positive
out.
Editing in my life.
I will edit it out. I will edit to where your words are like, "This was the most amazing show ever
of my life." Okay, I think somebody jacked my power source. Let me just give it 2 more looks. They love to take my battery packs around here. Hold on. I will find it.
If not, we can always do a part 2.
Well, that's true.
We don't.
Some of these topics we could go on forever, right? I mean,
why don't we do that, Nina? Why don't we schedule a round 2 where we can continue this conversation? But before we hang up, I do have to ask my wife's question. She brought this to my attention, and she said, are people on 60 days in not at least a little bit worried that some of these people will search them out, that they feel like they snitched on them at the end about changing things? Did I lose Nina? I think I might have lost Nina. I lost Nina. Her phone died. Listen, guys, we will continue this conversation another time. But Nina, thank you so much for being a part of the show. Thank you for the people in the chat. This has been so great. We will do a part 2. So I'm going to put this as a part 1 on the episode, and we will come back and we will do a part 2. My name is Brad. This is Work Advice for Me. I'll see you next time on a Tuesday.